Oh, Senator, you might want to go ahead and mention your petition again and how people can sign.
Oh yeah. And anyone who, everybody has my phone number. You can text me your address and I'll come to you. I still exercise social distancing. I'll hand you the clipboard, put it on the doorstep, and stand back. Wait for you to sign it, then you slide it back. No, just kidding. But no, you can text me your address and I can stop in my spare time and I'll call obviously ahead of time to let you know I'm coming. And because this is a different way of doing things. Normally signatures are very simple. Because of COVID, it makes it a little bit more difficult. And so you have to come up with thinking outside of the box, so to speak. But I was going to say about, a very controversial bill that the governor signed is still lingering. It doesn't take effect for 3 months, but the bill basically is, it's a stand your ground piece of legislation. Prior to signing the law into effect, the current law says that if you are in a confrontation, verbal, whatever it might be, if you can walk away from that situation without it getting out of control, you have a duty to do that. In other words, you can't just pull out a firearm and use lethal force. If there's a possibility of an avenue that you can walk away, you should take that avenue. That has worked well in the state of Ohio. We've never had any problems with it. There's never been an issue of an individual articulating that they had no choice but to use force. If they articulate that, which is in most cases most folks do, then they're not charged. If there's no time that I know of, and I asked the opponents of the bill to tell me one time that someone used lethal force in a situation where they were protecting themselves from serious bodily harm, and then was charged with some offense after trying to protect themselves. There's nothing there. They couldn't point to it. In other words, the law works well. We teach our officers and we tell our officers to de-escalate situations. That same law that's in place now is a form of de-escalation, being able to walk away. Now, if you can't walk away and this individual insists on pushing the envelope to the point where you feel that you may be in fear of your bodily harm to yourself or someone else, you reach that point, then you have every right to use whatever force is necessary to protect yourself. You have that right if someone comes in your house. It's called a castle doctrine. You can use whatever force is necessary to protect yourself in your home. You can use whatever force is necessary to protect yourself in your vehicle. If someone's approaching you and they're trying to pull you out the car, whatever, you can use whatever force is necessary. And that also applies on the street if you cannot avoid this situation. So that law now says, though, that neither one has to walk away. You could stand there and at some point, one says, well, I'm not going to move. And then the other one says, well, I'm not going to move. Well, then it's whoever gets to their gun first, sort of like in the old cowboy days. Whoever gets to their gun first, then they have the right to say, well, I was in fear of my life and I was defending myself. And that's what the new law was saying. Law enforcement all over the state were against it. They were saying the law is fine as it is. And so that may cause some problems down the road, especially when it comes to people of color. We know that use of force, where citizens use force against one another, African Americans, if the citizen is white and the individual that the force is used against, the other citizen is African American, chances are, well, statistics say that the individual African American is usually the one that the force is used against, and the individual that uses the force likely doesn't get charged. So we're concerned about that. But anyway, it's there. The governor signed it. I was surprised that he signed it. And we'll see where it goes from here. just so you all know that it's out there.
For those, there may be some people that are signed on right now that aren't familiar with the Coalition for a Just Hamilton County. And so the Coalition for a Just Hamilton County is a coalition of agencies and individuals joining together to promote restorative justice in Hamilton County. And so that's basically says it all about who we are. Anyone is welcome to be a part of the coalition. There are various things that we can do. We're making certain that we are partnering with other organizations within the community, but you can reach out to us by our Facebook and get more information, but feel free to join us and know that you are welcome to do so. So that is the Coalition for a Just Hamilton County.
Well, first of all, welcome everyone. I tell you, it's been an exciting year, 2020, very exciting. And now we're in 2021. But it's been a significant amount of victories in 2020, especially when it comes to elections. And one of those victories is here this evening to just for us to offer questions to her and just for her to introduce herself to those who may not be familiar with our new sheriff of Hamilton County. I had the pleasure of using my methods to help her get elected. And I'm so proud to see her here. And I recognize the progressiveness of the way she thinks. You know, this is the 21st century. You have to have 21st century thinking. And I recognize that and in her, and I truly believe that this Hamilton County, as well as the city of Cincinnati, as well as this state, is going to be much better off with someone like Charmaine McGuffey as sheriff of Hamilton County. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Charmaine McGuffey. Sheriff, good evening and welcome to this forum.
Thank you. Welcome. Thanks so much for having me on. And thank you, Senator Thomas. I mean, you know, you've just been tremendous to me, and your support was absolutely essential in my run for this office. And in fact, you know, I want to thank everybody on this call. I want to thank everybody in this coalition. You know, I began my 4-year term as sheriff because all of you helped me get elected. And, you know, I intend to communicate, I intend to be transparent, and to help you have a voice in the criminal justice system, as well as help heal the justice system. And we need healing, we need change. And so I'm so grateful to all of you for putting your trust in me. Now, you know, I'll talk a bit about my first 100-day plan, because, you know, we came in with a plan to bring, first of all, a staff that reflected the communities that we serve. And, you know, in doing so, I was very intentional about the diversity that we brought to our staff. And I'm not finished bringing the diversity. I'm not finished rounding out all of the people that will serve on a command staff and in our staff for the public. But I do want to introduce on this call, we have Major Jacqueline Reed, who is here. You can see her in uniform there on the Zoom. She is absolutely fabulous. I'm so glad she could join on the call with us. She will also be able to answer and take some questions and so forth as we move along. You know, Jacqueline Reed brings a very unique perspective for us. And it's one of the reasons that she sits on the command staff as the major. First of all, she's the first African-American woman to be appointed as a major. And she earned that by spending, I believe, Jackie, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's 30 years, isn't it, in the justice system?
Hi, Sheriff.
Hi.
It's almost 33 years.
Thank you. I knew it was, yeah, it was a long time. And, you know, the significant thing about Major Reed's service is that she spent almost all of it inside our jail. Inside that jail, rising through the ranks to sergeant, then lieutenant, And she has, really been on the forefront of helping me understand how we can relate to the community about the jail. So, so she'll be here to support some of the other people I've had on my command staff. I have Kyla Woods, who is our public information officer. I have Jasmine Costin as my administrative assistant. Some of you may know her. I also have a major of the jail, Dan Ems, and a major of the road patrol, and that's Chris Ketterman. And then my chief deputy is Jay Gramke. So we all are joined at the table to take these 100-day goals, which are to do this: build trust, listen to the department staff and the community's ideas and concerns, and move forward together. I mean, it's one of the things I did during my career is I'm a bridge builder. And, I jokingly told people when I got elected, I said, well, the first thing I did is order a whole bunch of wood because we've got a whole lot of bridges to build. And, nothing could be more true in our nation now. And, I'm joined by such powerful forces as, Senator Thomas and people who have our same frame of mind to move this thing forward. So, I want to work with everybody. And again, remind you, I have a 4-year term and we've started out hitting the ground running. So COVID safety. We have had in our jail since COVID hit in April, we had 178 prisoners who tested positive for COVID. That gives you some perspective in that time period. We fortunately have not had anyone lose their life, thank goodness. We have had some 87 officers actually test positive and contract COVID. So it is a very risky and dangerous environment. What I've done to improve that is to certainly we're working with the judges, as a matter of fact, as we speak, to find out who else we can release from that jail. People might ask me, well, what's your population today? Well, it's about 1,200. I get a population count sheet every day. I can tell you, I don't know any other sheriff behind me that ever took a look at that population count sheet. I do. I get a copy of it. And we are in the process of assessing who can go out of our jail. And the people that must stay, of course, we want to be very conscious of cleanliness, our bleaching protocols, and all the things that go with that. With our use of force training, we are, I brought on, by the way, a major of internal affairs who will be very instrumental in viewing what happens in our use of force situations. And she's not even from this region. She's from Columbus, Ohio. And she had a 20-year career in the State Bureau of Criminal Investigations. So she is a very, very accomplished investigator. I wanted her to come down here. I invited her and she did come down. And I think she is going to make sure that we see all the facts every time. And that's important. And she has she doesn't have any friends in our department or any of the outlying departments. This is not where she spent her career. And I think that gives you a more objective outlook when you're in situations. So we are working on training. Okay. And I know people have been talking about EPIC training, and EPIC training means ethical policing that's what it means. And then the ABLE training program is active bystander training for law enforcement. And I'll just give you a flavor of what that means in the training. So we're training officers, supervisors, support staff. If you are standing and watching something happen, okay, and it is getting really out of control, and someone's getting hurt, someone's losing their temper, I mean, things are going wrong fast. It is your responsibility to step into that situation and say, hey, and intervene and stop those activities. And you will be guaranteed that that is not going to affect your career. So that's the basis of some of that training. And there's a lot of other things that go with it. And it basically is designed to create a culture of de-escalation. And, I'll just give you an example of how we can de-escalate in our jail on some very simple levels. I look at the food, all right? The food in our jail, I've been talking about it. I went on Lincoln Ware and talked about it. I talked about it on the campaign trail. And, you know, it's not an easy thing to fix. We have contracts. We have certain ways that we've, you know, spent money and contracted to serve the food and so forth. But we can improve on that food. And we can improve on the quality of the food and also how much food people get in our jail. And, you know, I'll just give you an example. I mean, you know, use of forces can start over food. I say this to the staff, and I have said this since I've been sheriff. I say, you guys, imagine yourself in a state of mind where you're really, really hungry, and a whole lot of other things are going wrong for you as well. Okay, you're not going to be in a very good state of mind to encounter issues and problems, and when you do, it's not going to go well because you're likely to lose your temper. You're likely to say the wrong thing because you haven't been given the care that you need to have that good frame of mind, no matter where you're at. So we're improving that. And that's a part of de-escalation, making sure that people that are incarcerated have their basic needs met. And I mean met, really met, not, you know, just you know, lip service to it. So those are things we're doing. I'm creating a citizens review board, and that is in the works right now. We're working on a criteria for the board. We're working on who will sit on the board, how we'll work the board, what they'll look at, what they'll do. And fiscal management, of course, is a huge piece of my platform for 100 days. We're looking at all of our budgets, trying to find out how we can best serve the community and make best use of our dollars. And then, of course, the community engagement piece. And that's one of the reasons I invited Major Reed here. She is in charge of our community engagement, our sheriff's community liaison unit. And it's going to be called, Jackie, it's a brand new name. It's community engagement, I believe, is what we're pushing it out as, so people recognize it. And we already have some officers that we're assigning to the major here. And I'm going to, and one of the things I'm going to ask the major to do is highlight for you some of the things she's been working on already. You know, hit the ground running. The first, she's assessing our food service, our medical service, and all those things that need attention and care. And she also took on the task of, we had different people, you know, literally mailing us letters for help on various things. And one of those people mailed in a letter regarding their housing, okay? And because we deal in the forfeiture, you know, part of some of that housing, that fell to Major Reed. So Major Reed, do you want to explain to them what happened? I think it's a good example of what you're doing.
Okay, thank you. We had a lady come in with a letter. She had sent a letter in, and she was being evicted. She was getting evicted was the 16th of last month. So she didn't know what to do. She went to every avenue that she thought she could do, but she was told by the officer over there that she had to be out that Saturday. So I got on the phone and I started calling just to verify. She gave me a letter. She had proof of what she did. And it came to either she was the owner of the house or she was the tenant. Well, it turned out that she bought this house and another agency came through and bought underneath her and left her as the tenant. So her name was taken off the house, but through foreclosure, it foreclosed and she was paying, but what she thought she was paying was her house note and it turned out to be what she thought was rent. So we went through the channels of talking to everybody and I at least got her pushed back till February 12th before she has to leave, but nobody was hearing her. So we called different little agencies. I talked to a couple of people that I knew that could do something for her and referred it to her. And she called me back, what was about 3 or 4 days ago, and she wanted to thank me. She kept me updated, and she said that she has 2 appeals in. And come to find out that they were illegally trying to put her out, where she never got her 30-day notice. You know, they were jumping the gun because this company had underbought out her house. And so she's got 2 appeals going, and right now she's still there. I'm praying that she gets this appeal through in time so that she won't be put out by February 12th. So she's keeping in touch with me, but she was relieved because she was just getting ready to bring her mother home, who had just suffered COVID in the hospital, and her mother was going to stay with her. So she was happy, and it was a blessing. So I'm still praying for her, but we're working on it.
Thank you. And that is, that's a perfect example what Major Reed represents for our sheriff's department. A person who can find you the other people that you may need to help you. And she's going to be joined by other people who help her figure out some of those puzzles for people. So, we are very committed in the sheriff's office to.
Uh-oh, you're muted.
I'll be dark. So the whole time I was talking, I was muted. Oh,
You're
so
muted.
sorry. Let me start again. So Jackie's role, what she just talked to you about, exemplifies what we're going to do for for the community, the kinds of things that the skills we'll bring, the way that she will be a part of managing officers who help people in those ways. Lots of small ways, and small things can mean a lot to people. It really can mean a lot between being evicted and not evicted, and that's huge. So, we intend to grow that, and it just gives you an idea of what our 100-day plan is, and the fact that we've already hit the ground running. So, I'm happy to take questions or comments or things like that.
Okay, well, I'll start back.
Sure.
It sounds like well, let's start off by saying that the previous environment at the Justice Center has been one of not a very good environment for citizens that's coming, to maybe see their loved ones or whatever. And I've always said the customer is the citizen coming to visit their loved one, and the whole foundation of a good relationship starts at that first point of contact, is when that person comes to the door of the jail or wherever, and if they feel like they're being treated more like the prisoner as opposed to just being welcome, it can cause some problems. And so I think problem solving, customer service type atmosphere. I heard Major Reed clearly articulate a problem solving technique. Someone had an issue, rather than just send them to wherever you tried to help solve that problem. And so my question is, what are you saying to your officers as it relates to communicating with the public, especially when it comes to folks trying to come into the jail to visit their loved ones?
Absolutely. And it's a great question, because you're exactly right. That's our front door. Okay. That's how I look at it. That's the front door to our house. And, people should feel welcome when they come down to the Justice Center, which is a public building. And when you come down, and typically you'll have an issue, there's a reason you're there, whether it's to visit someone, to get through a problem, to ask questions. I have been talking already. I went up and talked to the recruit class, which was 30 people. I went up and talked to them, and I talked to them about the way we talk to people and the best way for us to get, going on good relationships and put our best foot forward. And, it is it's my belief that the leader sets the tone. When people know what the leader expects and how the leader acts, people follow that. Particularly if you want to move up and you want to do well in our environment, you are going to start using your good manners. And, Major Reed knows what I'm talking about. She was one of the people as a lieutenant on those floors that literally had to go around and coach officers on how to do their job. And there were many situations that I know she intervened on and, made the situation come out right. So those are things that we're absolutely paying attention to. I appreciate that.
Can I say one thing here? I worked the floors and I was in that jail for 32 years inside. And people would come and call my name. Major, well, they didn't say Major, but they were saying Lieutenant Reed, Lieutenant Reed. And I would go over and talk to them. I don't make judgments of why they're there. But there's a lot of times that the things that they were saying were very true. And I take the time to find out. So I never had any altercation really with anyone in the jail. And that's hard to believe, but they always call my name or they send me letters and I take the time to talk to them. I don't send a letter back to them or I bring them down to my office. And with COVID, we were doing distancing, but I had them sitting right in the doorway in a chair like a human being. And that's the way you got to look at it. You have to treat people like you want to be treated. We all have people in our families who have a history of making mistakes. And I expect to be treated with respect and dignity. I'm not there to downplay them, to make them look bad. That's not what I'm there for. I'm there to get them to court, to make sure that they get the justice, to take care of their needs while they're in there. And then if it's time for them to go, bye. Or we send them, if they got time, they have to go to the pen. That's all we're there for. We're not there to be the judge and the jury of everything they've done. And that's the way I looked at it. I never had a problem.
Well, good. Well, I'm not going to hog all the questions. I got plenty, but I want some of the other people to ask questions.
I had a question, Sheriff McGuffey.
Sure.
I've been in and out of the Justice Center as a social worker on many occasions, and one of my concerns was privacy. I know you have different genders guarding, for instance, male guarding women. And I'm concerned about the privacy of even the women going to the facilities without having an announcement that there's a male coming up to their unit. And,
Right.
Is that a...
I don't know when you were visiting the jail. I know it was probably recent, but I do know that even when I took over as major, their system was to have male officers in the control room supervising female inmates. And I put a stop to that because I knew that was full of problems, issues for the women who were uncomfortable with literally a male going out onto their unit and, being out there with them in certain situations. We have very responsible men that work in the jail. And, it is a big place. But I absolutely know what you're talking about. And I'm very careful about having men supervise the women. And I'll let, Major Reed, what were you seeing in the jail?
Well, one of the things that we found was we had a lot of turnover of officers leaving, and we have a lot of young people. And so we have found that a lot of them may not have been working on that post. We had to tell them, you have to go to your post. You can't hang out here. And that was making some of I think the female inmates feel uncomfortable when there was a female in the booth when the male officers stop by to talk to them. But we feel that male officers should be working the male floors and the females should be working the female floors. There will be times when we have to shut down really quick and we might have to put a male in the booth, but not out in the housing unit. There's a difference. And all that is teaching them some courtesy. I think we got to get back to teaching some common sense and courtesy. Let them know, hey, girls, we got a man on the floor, you know, don't come out half dressed, which they shouldn't be doing anyway. But, you know, you have to think of those little things. Those little things matter. And so you will have females who will come out there purposely, you know, dressed down so they can be seen. We have men do the same thing to the girls. There's going to be times when we do have to take over a post for another person to leave and go and assist another officer elsewhere. So that officer has to be aware of his surroundings. They need to know that they don't need to call in and talk to him until the other female gets back. So, you know, we're trying. Like I said, we have a lot of brand new officers, so we're working with them. We're trying to go through training and have them talk to them about protocol.
I'd like to jump in real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I have firsthand experience.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, you do.
Of the jail. And I want to make clear, because it's going to come up at some point, just so you know. But I felt sexually harassed as a female in the unit, and they did not follow any protocol regarding having men on the floor. As you know, I was housed in the medical unit. Yes. And I filed at least, honestly, the first month I was afraid to file a complaint because they were already treating me very, very abusively. And I was very nice. I tried to just keep my head low, and just go in there, do whatever. And they were literally harassing me. The officers were harassing me. But the males, and there was always a female on the floor, but the males insisted on being the ones that walked the unit. And because the medical unit is so tiny, as you know, as soon as you open the door, my cell was right there. So I kept my clothes on 24/7. And I was afraid, literally afraid to go to the restroom because the men were constantly coming in and out, in and out. And when I would request that, finally, it took me a while to get up my nerve to say something because I was afraid of the additional harassment that I was already experiencing. But I finally did, because some of the other women in the medical unit were also upset, and they continually walked in on ladies while they were using the facilities. And I felt literally sexually harassed, and I complained several times. And there was harsh, as you know, sometimes if you make a complaint, and some of the officers don't take well to that. And so there was backlash when I would complain. And finally, they put a sign on the door and they told the men to, if there's a woman available, she should come in, but they wouldn't follow the rules. And so, and I won't go into all the details of things that did happen as a result of my complaining, but they didn't follow that protocol whatsoever. And as a woman, and for me as a pastor and a person who protects and guards, my body, that was a very, very traumatic experience for me. So I do hope that something will happen, or that the policy will be enforced so that other women don't feel as traumatized as I personally felt.
Well, I like to say when that happened to you also, that happened under a regime of all men. Men reigned, and I think that's going to be the difference between the last sheriff and the sheriff we have now and myself, because I have more say then. And so we will be talking with training, we will be talking with their supervisors and educating them that everybody does have the right to privacy. There's no reason for anybody to go in there unless there's an emergency. Really, there's no reason to be all up in their room if they're on the bathroom or they're undressed. There's no reason really to be in there if you can see them moving around through the door. But we at some time do have to make those rounds. We are required by the state to make rounds every 30 minutes to ensure that you're alive or that that person has been moving. So being, when they say, well, I'm making my round, well, they just may be, but we do have to do something about the privacy issue. I agree with you on that one.
Yes. And
Could I jump in here just for a minute?
Sure.
You know, you have a very complicated situation at the jail. I've been involved with criminal justice, and certainly from back in the old days at the old workhouse with the Garber report. I helped Brian Wilson do the Garber report up until about 10 years ago with the health department doing services with the jail and doing HIV testing and offering counseling and various things like that. I was a supervisor. But you have a very complicated situation down there. My question is relative to gender training for the guards, for the staff, relative to the various gender identifications of both inmates and guards that you have on site, and the kind of support that you need down there, because you have both straight and gay individuals on both sides, and you have to help manage that to some degree where everybody has a certain degree of privacy and comfort with the people they have to come in contact with. And what kind of training are you offering?
So just as Major Reed talked about, the training that we are now emphasizing is one of respect, and the fact that the men and women that are being trained in our facility now to work as officers, we are cautioning them, listen, you, the boss is, right, of which Major Reed and I are two of them, we are paying attention to whether or not you treat people with dignity. And that's the bottom line. And I'll give you a quick example if I can, but first I'd like to thank Judge Hunter for sharing her story and being so candid with us. I know that's a very, very hard thing to talk about. I absolutely know that it was a traumatic situation, and you know, I'm very sorry. I want to apologize to her on behalf of this uniform that there were things that happened in there that I absolutely know she's telling the truth about, and I'm sorry about that. But I want to also say, just in the ways of treating people well all the way around, right? So we talk about medical. So just in the staff meeting last week, we decided, I said, you know, and Judge Hunter this may resonate with her, the sheets, the linens that you get in medical were horrible. They were horrible. And, you know, the sheets they're very, you know, we don't pay a lot of money for them. They get cycled through the entire institution, and then put back out, and they're stained, and they're just gross. Goodness, they're awful. And yes, and Judge Hunter knows what I'm talking about. So, you know, this is what we've done is I said, no more medical and mental health. First of all, we'll start with them. They will get a certain quality of sheet, and sheets, we're ordering blue sheets for medical and mental health, so they do not get mixed in with the rest of the population sheets, and they are laundered on the floor. They never come off that floor. That way, when the staff sees a sheet that's in disrepair, a blanket that's in disrepair or not clean, because we increase the cleaning schedule as well, then we know to get rid of it, you know, and we know to replace it with another new blue sheet. And I know that's a small thing, but it's an example of what we are paying attention to.
I have a question, Charmaine McGuffey.
Sure. Yes, ma'am.
And congratulations.
Thank you.
I noticed the first thing you did when you took office, you let go of 8 employees that due to an internal investigation that caused you to be let go in 2017.
Right.
Do you foresee any lawsuits against you because of that act that you took? And I have another question after that.
Sure, and that's a great question. You know, that is the rumor that I'm hearing, that some of those men, all of them, one of them, I don't know, is planning to file a lawsuit for that reason. And I tell you, I am standing on firm legal ground. They were fiduciary employees, which means they did not have the civil rights to their job, you know, as classified people would. They were at-will employees. Every one of them, with the exception of one, had been long retired, and this was their second job. Okay, I made it very sure that I wasn't putting anybody out on the street. You know, I was going to find some other employment for them if they needed it, whatever it was. But we didn't put anybody out on the street that needed years for their retirement. And quite frankly, I have a direction to go in, and what I saw some of those men doing was not the direction I'm going in. And I don't have time to drag them along. I got to have people that are going to start right now. So yeah, they're probably going to file suit.
The other question I have, the inmates who have medical needs and to be met, if they aren't met and they file grievances, do you have a grievances board, and how fast do you turn that around to a reply?
And that is also a great question, because grievances have been an issue in that jail historically, okay? We have not, in our defense, in the staff's defense, in our social service section, we have not had enough people to investigate and move through those grievances. Sometimes the people that are assigned to that, quite frankly, aren't doing their job. But again, that is going to fall to Major Reed's department. Her department, her liaison department, is going to be making sure that those grievances are, you know, that we're responding and looking at them.
Well, how soon is your turnaround?
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you for that. Yeah, we do not have a very good turnaround, and I'm going to pass that ball to Major Reed. Major, what's your thought on our turnaround?
Our turnaround right now is everybody's young, and as soon as you put the pressure on them to do better, they're ready to leave, or they're calling in sick. So right now we're working on our turnaround. It hasn't been that bad because people need jobs, and I think they realize this. But we did at one time, we're losing a lot of people and trying to train young people. And young people just don't have the skills to deal with older inmates. And I think the older ones that are there feel that they don't need some young kid from the West Side or, you know, the suburbs to tell them what to do. So that has been a big problem for us. But you got to realize we're just getting in office. So we're working on a step by step. And I've done enough grievances in my lifetime. I go to sleep thinking about grievances. So there was one time there that I had every grievance from every supervisor. The person that's supposed to be checking the grievances were just putting my name on them and sending them to me. And I did what I could do. I think I was the only supervisor there that was bringing the person down, looking at them face to face and telling them, you know, look, this is not a grievable issue. This is something that we're going to have to try to work on. You cannot control the officer. A lot of times the misconception is if they write you, they feel like they're writing up the officer, which gives them the power to feel like they're doing something over the officer. So a lot of times that they did get a grievance was, oh, he came in my room, he started going through my stuff. Well, as I said, we have steps. We are in jail, and we have steps. We have so many cell searches that we're required to do. We have to, the things that we have pulled out of that facility, that these people who are so smart, I'm telling you, they teach me every day. The things that they can make out of things that nobody would think, paper clips and all the other things, we have to we had swords made out of the bed. You can imagine that. Taking battery acid from the remotes and different things. I mean, it's just unbelievable. So we are required by state to do so much searching, so much patting down. People don't like to be patted down. They feel if they go to medical, well, I just went to medical, but what did you pick up when you were over in medical? You know, and the officers are now, they just let them walk through. And if I see it, I address that issue, because you don't know if they went over there and picked up something. So,
Right. So
and we got our porters that do work for us, and we give them days and time for working. And they're the main ones that are transporting. They got drugs, they got everything going through there. So you have to watch the porters too. So right now, as I said, we're working on it. We're trying to build a bridge to where we trust each other. And we do need the public to help us, because we can't do it by ourselves. We cannot. There's no way. And as I said, I'm willing and able. Uh-oh. Are you getting up?
Are you coming in?
Was at my door. I'm sorry, I did hear your
this,
you know how they do in church.
Yeah, that's what I say. Oh, are you getting up?
But I appreciate your answer. I do.
But I do want you to understand that as an officer, there are certain things that we have to do, and they don't like it. They don't like their privacy.
One moment.
Anyway. So I hope I answer your question. You can call me and I will give you the whole rundown.
You know, this is Senator Thomas.
Go ahead, Senator.
Yeah, what she just expressed is really, really critically important for the public to know and understand. One of the reasons we had a Citizens Police Academy was to allow the citizens to get a much better understanding of how things work. And once they go through that academy, they have a greater appreciation of law enforcement in so many areas. That same seems to need to apply in your jail. Now, I know there's the patrol section, which is another segment of the conversation. But then there's also, from what I'm hearing, a lot of things that people just don't understand and know why you have to do what you have to do. And I think the transparency of letting the public know this is why we got to do this and all these things, it really goes a long way to cut down on the misinformation and some of the dumb stuff that gets out there and takes a life of its own.
Right.
I appreciate you sharing that.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Me? Okay. As someone who's spent a bit of time in jail 13 years ago, not a lot of time,
13
but
years
some.
in jail.
10 days, only 10 days.
Yeah.
One of the things I discovered was the temperature was very low. It was very cold in the jail, and women were going like this all day long. And by chance, I had worn a shirt that had no buttons, no zippers, nothing metal in it or nothing. And they let me, the guy who took my clothes in the front and gave me the clothes to wear in jail, the outfit, let me keep my shirt, which allowed me to keep somewhat warmer than the other women, but they definitely needed some warmth. Right. I figured out the reason it was so cold was to keep bugs out. Is that correct?
I can answer that one.
What was it? Okay.
I can answer that.
Okay.
One of the reasons, and the main reason, that the jail is on temperature control is just like a hospital, keep the germs down.
That's what I figured.
So many different people, nationalities,
yes,
people from different walks of life, and it's just like a hospital. You can't keep it warm all the time.
Right.
But they do. That's why we're trying to tell them that they can they can have a long john shirt on underneath their uniform.
Yes.
Or, that type of deal. But they have to buy it through the commissary. Because
wear it
in. If they wear it in, they can keep it.
I tell people
have
that
buttons, zippers, and all that. Right.
Yeah.
That's
It
my
does
advice to
get
people.
cold. It does get a little cool in there, but we have to, by state law, keep it temperature controlled for the
Right.
fact
Okay.
that, the germ levels. So,
I assumed there was a reason. I thought it was maybe
Yeah.
roaches or something like that.
No.
But germs makes sense.
No.
Germs-
Our jail is very, very clean. It was starting
Yes.
to be. It was,
No. Oh, when she.
I left, it was becoming awful. I promise.
Yeah.
It was awful. We're-
People will come and see me just to see the clean area because the guys, like I said, I'm not knocking men all the time, but some of them just don't have it. And the way that they live is the way that they live, and they will leave stuff laying around, and I just wasn't like that. So I always ask for bleach. I still do it. I believe in bleaching the facility down, especially the toilets and the sinks. And, that's why we had the cleaning day. But we found that a lot of them say, I'm not cleaning nothing because they felt they didn't have to. They didn't come there to clean. That's what they tell me. But like I told them, if you want to be safe in here and you don't want to catch anything, you will clean. But,
that's a good point. Yes. Yes, I agree. And I think that's a good point that you make, that is to keep the place clean.
Yes.
It would be nice if there was some way of keeping the people who are there warmer, and not necessarily raising the temperature, but another
Well, as
level
I
of
said,
clothing.
they're able to purchase things out of the commissary, or if they came in with long johns, they could wear them, but they got to be a certain color, because we found over the years that people will wear colors in there if they were in certain gangs. See, that's another thing. People think we're being mean, but gang colors was a big issue. And I'm sure some people will remember that from going to Golden Skates. I worked there for a long time, that they were wearing their little bandanas and their colors. So we had to get control of
what
that.
colors can you wear now?
We prefer white. We prefer just plain white.
I will, when I tell people who are going to get arrested to wear a long sleeve shirt,
wear plain white.
Sure,
but if you got to, if that's all you got, then that's all you got. But we asked basically to wear white, because we were
I by
having
chance was
problems with
wearing black
gangs.
because
Yes.
I wear black all the time. At any rate, the other question, the other thing I wanted to tell you was, you were talking about the food, and yes, the food is pretty awful, except you make the best coleslaw, or you did when I was there, the best coleslaw in the city. I'm telling you, I've never tasted better coleslaw in the city of Cincinnati than there at the jail.
Well,
what can I say?
You can tell she's going back 13 years, right?
Yeah.
I'll be the same person. Might not be making it. Yes.
Rather than telling people who plan to be arrested what they should wear, maybe you should tell them not to plan to be arrested.
That's one thing.
I have a question.
Let some other people
If you're doing
I have
something,
a question.
I was arrested because I was protesting the war. So, there are sometimes you just have to get arrested.
You just have to, right?
Yeah. And there's one other thing.
Barbara, can we come back to you so that someone else can ask a question?
Well, I've got one other that's short.
I'm gonna mute you for just a second, Barbara.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll come back to Barbara in a little bit. I want to make sure that first of all, she's okay. And Geneva had a question.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. I got my picture up here because I'm kind of like in my night clothes. Congratulations, Officer McGuffey.
Thank you.
Is that Officer Reed? I know it's an Officer Reed, but what is your Major Reed?
Major Reed. I sleep in this now.
Okay, Major Reed. Okay. So congratulations to both of you. I think I have two questions real quickly. Sheriff McGuffey, are you satisfied with the mental health services in the juvenile system there? And what is it, and how can you change that if you would do anything? That's the first question.
Okay, and that's a great question. The juvenile system does not fall.
Not the juvenile. I didn't mean that justice system. I'm sorry.
Oh, the justice system. Okay, yes, absolutely. I think we're lacking. I think that we need more help with our mental health issues in that jail. A part of what I want to do is improve our outreach and start doing some things like, when we all come to the table and talk, Greater Cincinnati Health and all of the different mental health agencies out in the region, so that the jail mental health, because there's about 4 or 5 people that work in our mental health unit. Well, we see, oh my gosh, tons, hundreds of mental health issues. And sometimes I feel like they're just overloaded. And I think that, their resources are not as good as they need to be. So, I'm linking up with the other mental health agencies on the outside so that we can address what happens when people leave our jail, when people are in need of medication and how that medication is given to them and those kinds of issues. So you're exactly right. We are lacking and we need to fix that.
Well, I'm seriously hoping that there is some changes to that, because I do know that they're lacking, obviously, because a lot of the crimes that people commit nowadays is because of trauma and mental health.
Yes.
And so if they're not getting that care while they're in there,
Right.
then it's just sad. And then another thing, now this Citizens Review Committee, I'm really interested in that. Has there been one? Is there one now? What are you hoping to get from that committee of people, citizens that's from the community? I'm hoping is going to be sitting there at the table. Who are you looking for? What are you looking for them to do? What are your vision for that committee? What's your vision?
So my vision for that committee is, one, we will have a criteria to select people to come and volunteer. All right. And that criteria is not going to be based on necessarily someone's past. Okay. It's much more wrapped around what your intent is for helping us move along in our situation with our criminal justice system. The fact that you are interested in helping us do things, evaluate our policy and procedures, share information, but also that you will meet when I talk about criteria, I simply mean that that we want people to want to attend the Citizens Academy, the Citizens Police Academy. That'll be a part of it. Some of that training, take you on tours through the jail, do numerous things like that with people that come on board. And we do not have one. It will be the first of its kind in a sheriff's office in the state of Ohio, because nobody else has one. No one else is doing it unless they're forced to do it. Well, we're doing it because we know that's best practice to bring your community in. So yeah, if you're interested, of course, we'll be pushing that information out as soon as we get that. I mean, obviously we have a lot of things we're paying attention to, but that certainly is going to be top on our priority list.
I know I said I only had two, just one other quick one. Culturally sensitive products and hair care stuff and combs. I know I've never been in jail. That's because I didn't get caught. So it ain't like I'm so good, but I'm not committing crime today. So thank God. Now, when it comes to, personal items and stuff, I know some people, even though, like you said, they're incarcerated, but somebody said they deserve fair treatment, humane treatment too. It's just, and some people haven't even been charged. They're just in there. Well, they've been charged, but they haven't been. Come on,
convicted.
Help me out.
Yeah, yes. Convicted.
So,
right.
So, and even if they were, they still deserve humane treatment. So what about being culturally sensitive? I know Judge Turner, who happens to be my pastor, she was complaining a lot about just regular stuff, hair care stuff, and proper combs for thick afros and stuff like that. So then I'm done. I'll listen to you and I'm getting ready to mute out. Thank you.
Okay. Major Reed, you want to take that one?
Well.
And while we're waiting, I wasn't just complaining. I didn't wash my hair for 3 months while I was in there. And all this is all mine. And it started to fall out while I was in there because there was no shampoo for, a person of natural, and this is natural hair. There's no shampoo that I could use. There was certainly no comb that I could pull through this hair. It was like this long, and the comb alone would pull out all my hair. And so the safest thing for me to just protect what I had, even though it did fall out, was I just couldn't wash it because there was no way for me to, there was no products that I could use. And then there were no grooming tools for me to use for my hair.
Yeah.
And see, that's something that we've been doing for how old is that jail? They're probably using the same direction of products. So that might be something that we can look into the future, because we do have different types of hair in there. I used to have hair longer than yours, and look at it now, it's falling out. But yeah, there's different products. We have to realize another thing, and I'm proud to say, we are getting hot water. That was an issue at one time there too. And the water turning off every 5 minutes, well, 5 seconds. You push. That wasn't no way of taking a good shower. So those type of deals will probably need to be addressed. As I said, we just I've been there, and I know some of the problems that you're talking about. Okay. And as far as our hair, that is one of the things that does need to be addressed. You can't just use a bar of soap or that little bottle of shampoo. It doesn't work. So you need conditioner. You do need condition and a stronger comb, because those little combs
they're not made for black hair.
No, they're not.
And I was told that I should just cut off my hair, and and I shouldn't have to cut off my hair.
No.
Right. Especially when I shouldn't have been in jail in the first place.
Well, I agree with you there. But
Yes, and I agree with you there too, Judge. 100%. We're on your side.
Yes.
Let me raise a concern that I had as well. First of all, congratulations, Sheriff McGuffey and Major Reed. It is exciting to see women at the helm of that jail and to hear that there will be more humane treatment. One of the major concerns that I had in visiting the jail when Judge Hunter was there, I was there on one occasion, and there was a man who was seizing, and I was there for 2 hours watching them, try to stop his seizing. And finally, as I sat there, I was frustrated watching all these kids in sheriff's uniforms run in there and try and do different things. I don't know what their medical training is, but at some point I said, my God, will you guys please call an ambulance? I said, this is frustrating watching it. And one of them said, has anybody called an ambulance? And they called an ambulance at that point. 2 hours had gone by. I don't know if the guy made it or not, but I don't know what the protocols are. Can somebody speak on what the medical protocols are as it relates to notifying the hospital and getting an ambulance to come and respond to somebody's medical condition?
Do you want me to take that?
Yes, absolutely, Major.
Okay. Medical is an entity of itself. Therefore, the officers are not doctors, they're not physicians. They're only there to assist, such as picking the person up if they need to be picked up and put on a gurney or that kind of thing. Medical makes all the determination of what treatment, how long they're going to be treated. They make the call of when a person goes out to the hospital and when they don't. That person could have been put on observation. I'm sure someone told them, because there's cameras that tell them that this guy is having a seizure. So right now you cannot blame the young officers or any officer for not interceding into that, because medical is just like psych. We can't tell psych what kind of medication to give these people. We can't tell psych how to treat these people. They have their own protocol, and the officer is just there for the protection of the person working there.
Now, wait, is there medical professionals though on the medical unit?
Yes, they're there. They're there.
So the people who were there were medical people. They were supposed to be the medical people, but apparently in this particular instance, what happened is they changed this man's medication.
Okay.
It didn't come from his physician or what have you. They changed it. And he was seizing, and they started a conversation about having changed his medicine. And I mean, this went on for 2 hours. And
When you say they, was it the person
The
in
medical-
uniform or the person in
person
medical?
in medical.
Okay, well, they have a doctor. They have a doctor who makes all those decisions for them as to when a person can leave and cannot leave the facility. If the doctor feels that they need to be sat there and watch how the medication is reacting, that's what they have to do. They have their own protocol. They do have doctors on both sides. They have a doctor for the psych unit and they have a doctor for the medical unit, which the officers, we cannot override that. Supervisors have even told, let medical make their decisions because they're contract medical system and they have their own protocol. All we do.
What medical system do you contract with? Who are they? Are they University of Cincinnati or?
We have, I'll take that one, Jackie.
Okay.
We have NAVCare, and NAVCare has been with us for a very long time on a contract. Now, that contract is reoccurring. So every 3 years, they have to bid on that contract. And we go through it and assess, what's in there and what do they, like any contract, what they're going to do for what we pay them to do. Now, one thing I will say is we have struggled. The jail has struggled with medical issues. There's no doubt about it. I mean, we're very good, I think, in the way that we have our systems down as far as giving out. Remember, we're managing 1,300 prisoners. That's a lot of prisoners with a lot of different medical issues. But I don't, I can't say historically that medical has always gotten it right. I can't say that. I don't have any direct knowledge of whether they get it right or not. But I will tell you that that is a focus of our attention. I'll tell you that. I mean, just changing the sheets was one small little easy thing to do. We're going to continue. I promise you that. We'll be looking at that medical staff, the unit, how we do that.
And I think the next person to speak is Kathy Tyler. You have a question as well. You've got to unmute yourself. And before Kathy speaks, anybody else who has a question, at the bottom of your screen, you should see something that says reactions. You can click on that button to raise your hand. And actually, you know what? We're getting close to the end. So if anybody else has a question, just go ahead and raise your hand. We'll come back to you after Kathy Tyler. Barbara.
Let's ask the major and sheriff. Is it okay if we go over? We gave your time until 8:30. Do you have?
Yeah, we can go over. I'm fine with that. As major, can you you okay?
I can go over. You're my boss. I go over when you go over.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Sure.
I just wanted to ask, well, first of all, I want to just thank God that there's a new sheriff in town, and I'm happy that there's new leadership down there, because you're right, leadership sets the tone for everything. I wanted to find out if there's a company or organization that wants to partner with your office on issues that impact the community and impact the Justice Center. Can you say specifically how we reach out to you, or put it in the chat, or let us know exactly what we do as an organization to do that? I work with an organization with youth, and I'm interested in that. And so I wanted to say that. And then I don't want to divulge any of, so that's my question. And then in terms of the medical, I just had some things that I saw when I was there myself, and I watched, I don't want to divulge things about Judge, sure, but I saw times when her blood pressure was so high that we thought she'd stroke, and we watched these things. And so I just am really, really concerned about making sure that when we look at NAFT, that it's okay to replace it with a better organization if they have a history of not giving good care. And that if you guys take that on, then we can be sure that people will not die when they don't need to, or have things that are debilitating to them when that doesn't need to happen. And so I also want to make sure that there's a way for us to continue conversation, because when you see just from this first conversation, we can see so many things that are being attended to that never have been. And I think the community needs to see that so that we can keep this kind of leadership in place, and it doesn't change with the political push to get people out of office and what have you. But we want to make sure that people are treated justly. So I just wanted to say that too. We can be very transparent as a community to the community so that people can really see why we needed a leadership change. So that's my question. And I'd like to get that answer to that question.
Sure. And I appreciate that, Kathleen. I will, when I say that history, sometimes we got it wrong, sometimes not, I do mean going all the way back to the old workhouse. I mean, I've been around 33 years and I've seen it. I've seen times when we got it right, and I've seen times when we got it wrong. My job and Major Reed's job is to assess the best practice to get it right as many times as we can. And, we do have good medical personnel. I want to make that very clear. We have a medical director now. She was new coming on when I became major, and I have a great deal of respect for her. She knows her stuff, but remember, she's one person and, running a huge unit and 1,300 prisoners and things like that. But to your point, two things. One, we do have an eye on that medical, services, and we are going to improve those. But the other thing about bringing community organizations in is I'm going to restart a committee that I had when I was the major. When I was the major of the jail, I started a committee called WRAP, Working to Refer Appropriate Placement. Major Reed was on that committee. There were a number of people from inside the department that were on the committee. But here was the beauty of it. We met at the same time, same place, once a week, so everybody could find us, and everyone was welcome. You can come to that meeting and you sit at the table, and people came and went. If they had a particular thing they wanted to get done, they came, they addressed it, they moved on. They're welcome to come back anytime. So we will be starting that up, and certainly, Kathleen, you're invited. Yeah, 100%.
Thank you.
Sure.
Can I make my last?
Barbara Wolf, you can go ahead.
Thank you. I don't know if this has changed since I was in jail, but it was really uncomfortable then. The mattresses were very, very soft, miserable things. And if you would lay down and you put your leg over the edge of the bed, the bed edge had a piece of metal that would go into your knee or something. It was like, ooh. Has that changed? Have you gotten better mattresses?
We bought new mattresses. We have bought new mattresses, and we tried the ones with the built-in pillows, but the guys were tearing them up. When they want to hide something, they were ripping them up. So we have a big overturn, but we do have new mattresses that we have redid, and they're more foam than they are the I don't know what those other ones were, but they were so good. When I was there, they were foam. You had the old green ones, yes. So we have blue mattresses. We're slowly coming around, trying to make it so that everybody on both sides feel some type of dignity. And that's why we need the neighborhood. Everybody in the neighborhood needs to work with us, and we need to work with them, so that everybody doesn't feel like, oh, they're not paying no attention. We are paying attention, whether you believe it or not. I know I am, and I know for sure Sheriff McGuffey is. So
and that's why I voted, because I knew she would do that.
And that's why I stuck around, because I could have left, but I didn't, because she asked me to be on her team because she wanted somebody that she could trust and feel that we are more community-minded people.
Wonderful.
Everybody makes mistakes. Which person in this chat that doesn't have a person that went to jail? Anybody? No, we're not perfect. So,
Right.
No, we're not. And I made a point, Tracy, Pastor Tracy, to make sure that you were treated when you first came in, because I heard you were coming and I went down there. If you remember, I did come up to you and I apologize for what the people had did and said to you, because I know it was hurtful. But that's all feedback from what they didn't know you. Those people don't know you. And that got that feedback from a political standard. So, you know, we have to move on from that, because I'm so glad that you are up and running and able to get out and maybe make a change. You know, you running the roadblocks, you and the sheriff here have had roadblocks thrown. I mean, put down, and I'm ready to push on and keep moving. So that's the way I feel about it. That's why I'm still here.
Thanks so much, Officer Reed and Sheriff McGuffey. I think, does anybody have any pressing questions? If not, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up. We don't want to keep them all night.
I do.
Just the email address that we can use to contact them to let them know that we want to be involved. If we could get the contact information.
Major, could you put can you either put your email in the chat or just tell people your email, your work email there?
It's real simple. J Reed, that's deer spelled backwards, REED, at HCSO, that's Hamilton County Sheriff's Office, .org. That's it.
All right, I just.
Wonderful.
I got one final question. Okay, can I go? Great. Sheriff, in the other area of Sheriff, your role, the unit, do they all have body cameras?
Okay, yeah, and that's a great question, Senator. We do not have body cameras in the jail. What we do have in the jail is a number of cameras. We have cameras everywhere. We just in the recent years have put cameras in the Sallyport area. We put cameras where you can see into the units. We cannot put them in the cells. That's, you know, a place that we're not allowed to do that, obviously. But we do not have body cameras. Cost is a factor for us right now. And, you know, so.
No, my question was the patrol unit.
Oh, I'm so sorry, sir. I didn't hear you all the way. Yes, we have body cameras on patrol. What we're working on right now, and I talked to the new chief deputy, we're working on getting cruiser cams too, because body cams tell you part of the story, as you know, but a cruiser cam can give you a more detailed, you know. So that's what we're working on those.
Okay, thank you.
I know. I just got on. I'm so sorry. I was driving, not illegally.
Oh, I know.
I just had one quick question I've been wanting to ask. Hello, Sheriff, for a while. Every time we have a conversation, it escapes me. How do we, the public, or are we allowed, or how do we know about incident reports? Because in the last couple of years, because as you know, I work in the community, so I get a lot of phone calls on both sides of the river about incidents that occur. A young lady who froze in the jail, another person who under suspicious different things that happened, and he died. So I had to help the families, you know, find it. There's a website that they work to find lawyers for folks who pass away or have medical issues, because they can't sue for wrongful death, but they can sue for things related to bad medical care.
Sure.
So is there a way, or is there an incident report or anything of that nature that's public? Probably not, because of privacy laws. But how do we keep up with that?
Well, we have a public records system, and people request public records. So, you know, the key is you'll need to know when you come down to request a public record, you'll need to know dates, approximate times, things like that, names and so forth. And then remember that some of the information, particularly if you're dealing with medical, is going to be redacted. So it will be blacked out.
Right.
We can't tell you everything, but we do have, there is public records, and those incident reports are public record.
Yeah, I knew that I was able to get some things on the Kentucky side, but when the young lady froze and talking with doctors and everything, helping the family, they said sometimes when they come off drug withdrawal and these different things, but I would like to just put that in my arsenal. So when I get those phone calls that I have correct information.
Absolutely. And yeah, if you want to contact us, Major Reed gave her email.
I think I have Major Reed.
You know me.
Yeah, I know.
Okay,
Yeah.
there you go.
She knows.
We can send you the process. We can send you the outline of how you go about that, which
All right.
help with
Great.
it.
Because, I get all the calls. So,
Yes, I know.
all right. Well, thank you so much. I'm sorry, everyone. I was
Sure.
late.
No problem. I want to find out for the people that are cold and can get a Long John shirt, but they don't have the money to buy one. Can our churches or organizations donate those things to people that don't have the money to buy a warm shirt? Is there something in place for that?
Well,
And-
what we can do is we got to have a discussion. Also, if you donate, it will have to be checked by our K9, and we have to go through protocol to get that in there. We just can't just bring everything in. So we will have to have a stipulation, a policy, that would need to be discussed. So we have to. But that sounds like a good idea. I mean, when we want to work with the community, we want the community to be involved. We realize there's a lot of people in there just sitting, waiting on time. And what happens is they get bored and then they get in with the wrong people, and here we go again. So
Is it possible for the community to churches or whatever supporting a fund that started up within the system to buy those kinds of things for people who absolutely need them?
That is a interesting question. It's a good question. There are issues with funds and so forth, and that's something that we could have a more in-depth conversation with. If you want to contact us about that, it's a hard question to answer because funding wise, there are certain avenues that we have to take to buy things for people in the jail and so forth. So I'm sorry I can't answer your question outright, but we'd certainly entertain a conversation about it.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Sheriff McGuffey and Major Reed. We appreciate you coming on today on behalf of the Coalition for Just Hamilton County. I can say that most of the people on this call had a personal investment in making sure that you all got elected. We handed out flyers at the Board of Election. We did honking waves. And we made sure that we got the information out to the community to support your election. And so we want to continue to support you in your role. Yes. So we want to invite you to call on us if you have community issues and needs, because we want to make sure that we are an integral part of justice and attaining justice in Hamilton County. We also want to make sure that you have the support that you need so that you're successful in this role, because we believe that the community at large will benefit from you being there. So again, we want to invite you to call on us, and we thank you. We'd like to be able to invite you back at some point.
Sure.
Just to stay abreast on what's going on in the jails, and to allow the community to interact with you in this forum again. We weren't able to live stream tonight, but we do intend on sharing the recording of this engagement on social media so people have the opportunity to watch it at a later time and date. But we do want to let them know that we do intend to have another forum like this during this year, maybe in the next 6 months or so. Once you had an opportunity to get your feet wet and you see or some changes have been able to be made in the jail, we want to be able, and just on the street as well. We understand that you have multiple forums where you are of responsibility in the community. So we do plan to invite you back. So again, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
And
thank you.
And we appreciate and good luck in your role. And thank you so much to both of you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Enoch. And just thanks everybody for your questions and inviting us. Senator Thomas, of course, it's so great to always see you. And thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, wonderful. And can we give her a round of applause, Coalition? All right. And for those of you who are new on here tonight, we meet every Monday evening at 7:00 p.m. And we do have numerous speakers, well, several speakers that will be coming up during the month of February in honor of Black History Month. And if Kathy, do you have your information up about who the speakers are over the next several weeks?
Yes, we next week will be the president and CEO of Closing the Health Gap, Miss Renee McHaffey Harris. She will be our next guest, and then following that we'll have Mr. Joe Mallory of the NAACP, and then our Senator Thomas. And then we will announce the further information as we go. Stay tuned for the flyers out, so please share the information.
So you all, I'm assuming, should already be on our distribution list. If you know of other people who aren't yet on the distribution list, or people who aren't getting their emails, because I know on our email distribution list, a lot of people have accidentally deleted themselves by hitting unsubscribe at the very top of your email. So if you've done that, you'll have to add yourself again. We can't re-add you, but make sure if there are people who are saying that they're not getting our email. We've got over 500 and some people on the email distribution list, and several of them have not been receiving emails because they're either going to their spam or they're not able to access them. And I just wanted to say before we close, Judge Hunter, did you have any closing remarks? And I think, Senator, you already gave your closing remarks, correct?
I got plenty of closing remarks, man. I talk all night. What are you talking about?
Okay.
I did. Is Sheriff McGuffey still on?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, I didn't get an opportunity as I was just kind of, making comments in response to some other comments. I just wanted to personally say thank you for your support and your graciousness, and as well as Major Reed. And I absolutely do wish you the absolute best. I want to commend you on the barriers that you have broken as a woman. I definitely think it's a poetic justice that, as the national media also stated, that you sued and then you came back as the boss. And so,
thank you.
You hung in there. And so again, just thank you. And I will be praying for you and wishing you not only, much success, but we will look forward to the transformation and the reformation of the Hamilton County Sheriff's Department under your leadership. So thank you and God bless you.
Yes.
Thank
And thank you, Judge Hunter. That means a lot to me. Thank you.
Sheriff McGuffey, when you see that lawsuit come across your desk where I filed several years ago, just remember I sued your predecessor.
Okay.
And Sheriff, just so you know, at the state level, we recognize that there's a need to divert a lot of those individuals that are currently sitting in your jail, have mental health issues and things of that nature. So we're working on legislation to try to work with judges as well as the prosecutors to kind of come up with a way to divert those individuals out of your jails into an area where they can get some help. And the other thing we're looking at is bail bond reform.
Yeah,
The reason why individuals should be just sitting in there,
right.
all simply because they can't afford
Or to get
bail.
out.
That's right.
So we're looking at some serious changes there. There's a lot of support on both sides of the aisle for those two items. And so that will help relieve some of the pressures that you have on your jail in terms of populations. Now, thanks to COVID, I would say pre-COVID, the jails and at the seams with people. I mean, I think Sheriff Neal was complaining about overcrowding and people were, and now those individuals are being released, if you will, yet and still the numbers should come down even further. And if we put these things in place, it should help your population.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator. Appreciate it.